Hello, everybody. This is the first episode in a series of Zoom exchanges between me, Mårten Spångberg, and different guests that I will have during the next few months. Those guests are friends and family, people around the art world in different kinds of activism and so on and forth, that have one thing in common, and that is an extended interest in contemporary technology, and particularly internet-related technologies, and perhaps also the technologies that we are meeting on a day-to-day basis. Not only in the sense of the technological part, but also strongly in regard to the political, the modes of distribution of power, value, how this refers to colonial practices, etc., etc. So an expanded understanding of technology, and as said, in particular in regard to the internet. And the project that starts today is shared between Europe, Sweden, Germany. I am in Berlin, and a city in Canada called Nanaimo on the Vancouver Island, where there is a dance house that is hosting a project called Crimson Coast Dance. And this is a project that I have been invited to share with a local artist in Nanaimo called Samantha Letourneau. During the next 6 months, we will work on this project that we have for now baptized Things They Don't in Florida, referring to how can we outside the centers of the world deal with the world differently. So not playing golf at the Mar-a-Lago, not forbidding our literature in our libraries for kids, not etc., but maybe think the world differently. And here is, of course, also where the project is interested in technology. It is not in respect of being fascinated by AI or similar, but rather how can contemporary technologies and technologies of the future not only run the errands of venture capitalism, but also allow us for different ways of seeing and practicing the world, so that there's a strong connection in between technology and ecology. Today, our first guest is Samuel Cardoso, who is an artist with a particular strong interest in technology, active in Geneva, graduated from HED for a few years ago. And during the time at HED, we followed each other into the murkier terrains of technology and into a situation maybe where technology in art is maybe not only about making NFTs, but also means to think blockchain, think generative practices into the arts via technology, to see how are these opportunities to see the world or practice art differently? How is it an opportunity to practice the art world and its economies differently, etc. But so welcome, Samuel, to our new channel here. Maybe first, can you give us a short, brief take on the rise and fall on NFTs, and how you see NFTs as being something that is maybe also interesting to continue to think with, not only also after the bubble has burst, so to say. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, but this topic is like really complex, and also a lot of there is a lot of activities and stuff that did happen like more than 2.5 years now in this space. But mostly now that everything has been more quiet, and it has been, I would say, the best opportunity for the space to actually mature and like really do what it was meant to be with the technologies involved. Like in the current exhibition that you can see at Ec Basel, for now, you have like a panel of artists that are really working with the blockchain, with the limitation of the blockchain, and also putting work that matters there, I would say. That was maybe not the case when the bubble was actually inflating and some sort, when it was just a matter of pictures getting put in a sort of third market that was using crypto to buy and sell art. So yeah, yeah, and in that regard, I will say maybe now we have like people that were pioneers, and also maybe now just, I would say, more engaged artists into that space that are making the time to build like communities and structures to actually show their work and just show what is valuable into that kind of world, I would say, in the blockchain.
And can you shortly also walk us through how did NFTs come to become such a boom as it did a couple of years ago? And can you sort of tell us a little bit about the technology behind NFTs?
It was a matter of like putting stuff into the blockchain. So a blockchain is kind of I would say a big database where you can actually put stuff there, but you can actually erase stuff or alter the stuff that is in the database. So once is there for the infinity until the blockchain dies, actually. So it started all by actually big artists getting like a lot of traction and very high price during auctions in some pieces, and so the media started talking about it. More artists are come to the field, and etc. etc. But it was, I would say, more capitalizing in the technology to get, I would say, foundings and maybe also sell work there without really knowing what was really happening in those spaces. So it all I started from based on hype, I would say, no more, no less. But what it was really interesting, I would say, is that it was not about one project. So as the nature of the blockchain is decentralized, there were multiple projects that were all aiming into one sense, some more capitalistic than others. Maybe I can cite Ikenuk in the Tezos blockchain. There were others that were, I would say, more in the traditional way of doing things with super rare and rarible, I would say, in the Ethereum blockchain. Now you have FXH, that is also a small platform that is also getting a lot of traction and so on. So there were multiple projects that were all really interesting in their ways of doing things. Like, so now we have like website that really, I would say, projects more in the blockchain that really, I would say, empower artists that are working in the blockchain with like having functionalities that will actually make their work behave in a certain way. I'm really thinking about FXH now, and allows artists to, I would say, really like put their work there and have a strong following maybe also, but also tools that actually matures their art and activate some sort of history and continuity into their work in there.
When you talk about NFTs, you often use space as in that space or in certain spaces. How do you think? Do you think this in spatial terms in that respect, that NFTs and those platforms are spaces where activity is happening?
Yeah. For me, it's like it's really different. That art that you can see in institutions and so on. It behaves in another way. It has another constraints, I would say, but also like in terms of how you do art there and how it evolves into some kind of artwork. It's really different. Like, and people also are looking into different things when they are collecting into those spaces, and also the relation with the artist is really different than in the traditional way of doing it, I would say. Yeah.
So there as I understand, for example, there are somebody makes an artwork, it's passed to somebody, and then each time an artwork is passed to a new owner, there is a revenue coming back to the artist, for example.
yeah, that's something that you can do with the possibilities of blockchain. So blockchain, as we said before, is like a big databases when you can put things and not remove it and not modify it. But it also comes through the exchange in those blockchain comes through a contract that is actually programmed between the person that collects the artwork and the artist that made it. And in this contract, we can actually enforce things the way we like. So we can actually say that the collectible is actually shared between, like, I would say, all the people that buys it. We can say that the collectible is actually only owned by one person. We can also say that the collectible, each time that it sells, actually adds to the revenue of the artist and maybe also to the first collector or the second one. Actually, the rules can be whatever the artist has in mind, and the collector also can be involved in that. The thing is, like, rules that are enforced on those smart contracts are not known for the majority of the collectors, and even sometimes by the artists themselves that are using some platforms that are already created, like I said before, like Super Rare, Rarible, other platforms that when you can actually collect NFTs. So that's opened, like, I would say, a lot of interest and maybe a playfulness around the work of the artists. There's a lot of tokens, I would say now, of projects, sorry, that actually use these techniques to maybe gamify the collecting of these art pieces, or like even like create virtual communities around the objects. I'm thinking about the piece of Leander Herzog, for example, that each time a piece of him is collected, it creates actually a little garden that you can visit online and see, like, each flowers is actually a collector. So there is like a lot of, I would say, like, interconnectivity between the pieces, the digital space, the artists and the collectors around those works.
In conventionally, over the last sort of 250 years, we have lived with a very particular kind of aesthetic paradigm, or an strong aesthetic regime that we know emanates out of Immanuel Kant, where a few things are central, and perhaps most of all, that an artwork is something that you contemplate without interest. It is there and you spend time with it, but it doesn't give you, it doesn't connect to memories. It doesn't speak about certain things in order to be convincing. Do you see, and I believe that there has been a struggle in the arts over the last, especially over the last 100 years, in between an artist wants to create stuff that has the opportunity to be autonomous in regard to the world on the one hand, and at the same time, at other moments in history, art wants to play an active political role. But these two sides doesn't really work very well together. And there's been a sort of a pendulum movement in between. But nevertheless, we have been stuck within a Kantian aesthetics. And this, I think, has become even more precarious over the last 20, 30, 40 years in regard to, for example, how a Western way of understanding art cannot be applied to art created vis-a-vis other cultures. But so when we are looking at art from indigenous populations, for example, we are still looking at it with the glasses of Kant, and therefore we cannot we seem to be unable to understand what an art can do in different societies. Do you see the current NFT and blockchain related art as also a sort of a contesting or opening up for other ways of understanding what art is doing in our society, or what it's doing with us?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I will say, like there is this thing of, I will separate the response in two matters. The first one is actually the way people are actually consuming this art and being related to it. With NFT and blockchain, for sure, there is this strong, I would say, influx into how technology works, but also I think it's more interesting to people that know how to build these things and to be interested, sorry, in like into how algorithms function, etc. They will more inclined to actually like value this sort of art first. So I think this has a bit changed now, because like you don't go into these spaces if you don't know what you are gonna see, or etc. So I would say it's more for initiated people, that's for sure. And on the other ends, I would say that there is nothing that changed with NFT blockchain for sure. Like the whole washing of this technology came through the narrative of everyone can actually earn money and it will empower like minorities and so on. And there is like a lot of projects that were built into this stuff of empowering minorities or etc. But it's still owned by the white people, you know, like, and white people are still making money with these technologies. So I'm not pretty sure about the outcome that comes or that can come from those technology with the usage of them by the minorities. Like I would say, like maybe it's empowering in some way. It means that sure they can earn eventually a bit, but like the most share will still be owned by the same white people that actually did like everything around it. So blockchain are actually constructed and managed by foundations that are owned by white corporations and European organization or American organization also. Like, so I don't think it will change nothing about that. Like there's also a lot of projects that were coming with the narrative of if you actually buy a token in this kind of blockchain, it will like permits people like in Africa to rebuy their land, so or that sort of things. Like so, I think like if we speak honestly, maybe there is some good in that, but we all know that the people that are really earning things around that are not the right people for sure.
So would you also say that the people that, because in the beginning on an NFT era, it was sort of astonishing how much money Beeple or whatever those artists were called. But do we understand that is it similar in the art in the NFT world as in any other art world, that the ones that make money is actually not the artists, but it's rather the providers of platforms or the ones that can invest in modes of distribution, etc.
Yeah, and it's always been a bit problematic with the decentralized idea of these technologies. Like at some point, if you really want to make your whole money and like have nothing to worry about the middlemen that can come between you and your art and etc. You need to own it, everything. You need to write the smart contracts yourself. You need to have the platform that you can actually put your art there. So you need to be 100% autonomous to actually get the 100% of the benefits that you can have by using these technologies. And now it's not the case. So there will always have some it's not the case. Let me like precise that it's not the case for the majority of the people, I would say, but there will still be some artists that are able to actually control all of that and actually gather all the benefits from those technologies. But for the majority, I would say that we still need to go to one platform that will eventually like cut the chairs between the collectors and them and etc. So yes, still be like difficult, like.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I can add that we need to go back like in the fundamentals of crypto to understand that without activity, those blockchain actually can't make their token, the value of their token fluctuate organically. So it was also a matter of creating activity to wash all those technology with arts. Because like by adding this activity into the blockchain, it makes automatically the blockchain live, the price of the token fluctuates, and so we have exchange into the blockchain. But something needs to be said is like before NFTs in the blockchain, actually the way of using crypto was really limited. You couldn't buy like real things. Like, to be precise, yes, you could, but actually it was really limited. You could exchange like a bit of the tokens between you and other people that were also owning crypto, but it was more or less the things that you could do, and also exchange financial products and etc. But it's not the things that everyday people will use. But with art being in there, NFTs being created, decentralized project being created to fund research or art, etc., we create a lot of activity in those blockchain. And so they kind of also get some interest about that, and they started creating things by themselves. Actually, we can see Tezos, that is like a blockchain, at all the Art Basel, for example. So there is also like this kind of decline that needs to be remembered, I would say.
Because sort of conventionally, one could stand in front of a painting and say, this is amazing, it's so well done, this person is a brilliant painter. When it comes to NFTs and blockchain related art, it seems far-fetched to talk about somebody's ability with a brush. Or so there, it's something is interesting for me is like, what happened to, for example, as a starting point, what happened to the idea of the artist as an identity, as somebody that carries a form of genius or an ability that is extraordinary?
Yeah, just for sure. It changed a little bit the perspective of how we see things, but I don't know if it's like an evolution or maybe of a way also of saying those kind of things differently, you know. But yeah, we had in the past, not in the past, but we still have like generative art in the old way, I would say, that is still pushed through. And I think like NFTs and blockchain have enabled like another form of generative art that is like outside of the paper, like and the painting and so on, that is like fully digital and that can be exchanged and just also valued for that. And for that, I think it's amazing actually, to see actually works that use the blockchain as it is and not like just as a way to not use galleries and institutions. It can be also empowering to do that for sure, but like the amount of art that was only tokenized and that was not really relevant in the blockchain itself, but marketed as that, as the art that was really relying on the blockchain was actually astronomous in the past. But now, which is great, as the bubble has actually bursted, is that we have I would say like a more interesting space with like people that are really engaged into those form of art that can really be, I would say, understand by the majority of the people if they put the time to actually understand it, like any piece of art, I would say. So in that regards, things didn't change that much, I would say.
But would you say that there is a, especially for initiated viewers and people that are engaged in the practices, that there is a shift in between image, sort of an admiration of a picture towards an admiration to a prompt, so that it's when I come across an NFT or a block related art, that what I'm blown away by is not what I see, but rather how what I see is being organized, or what kind of algorithms are written, what kinds of prompts are being proposed.
Yeah, but it's something that we all do, like in the day by day. No, if the canvas is not interesting, you look at the frame. But maybe I would say that it's not bad artwork, but artwork maybe that don't make sense in as a whole, that actually like enable that kind of, I would say, side view of the project. But like if you are in front of a piece of art that comes from the blockchain and the justification between like using the blockchain and the piece is not really understandable, then there is a problem, I would say. And also, for sure, the technicalities that come like behind those projects are great, like and interesting as it always has been. But like, if you see that in a way of how generative artists have been working for the past 20 years or more, is like nothing has really changed. It's just that instead of writing things on a paper and or maybe on a contract with a curator or on a contract with an institution for them to build a piece and enable something conceptual between that is really the same. The only thing that changed is actually the medium is and the way that it's enforced in some sort of coding and algorithms that actually enables the piece afterwards. So for that, I will say it's just like instead of a painting brush, now we use our keyboard, and it's actually like, I would say, mostly equal, like in terms of how we do things. So and I'm maybe thinking also about installation that we're also using a lot of software in the past to mimic surveillance, for example. It's also really technical to do that, you know, but still it's an installation. And when you go there, if there isn't some sort of meaning and you go outside of this installation with something in your head, it's already okay, I would say. So it should actually do the same. Exactly the same as going into an exhibition. If you see that on your screen and you can actually understand the complexity just by looking at the image, I would say it's already great.
Yeah, because maybe I could also imagine the other way around, that it's particularly interesting today to come across art that is generated not through an interest in imagery, not through an interest in color, not through an interest in subject matter, but rather art to which I, as a viewer or as attending a certain art, that I need to that I cannot access the work if I don't reboot my entire understanding of what art is doing in the world.
Yeah, but like there's this thing also is like NFTs, art, and blockchain are really connected to how we also socialized in the internet. And you still need to have that in mind when you actually see that kind of stuff happening, because like if I'm collecting an artist in the blockchain now, and I know that is actually, or at least in the majority of form of collecting, I know that is actually the artist is known at some point. And like the artist, as he's actually producing and marketing his project in Twitter, you know the following of this artist, and so you are getting interest, and you want to collect also a project of this artist. And when you collect it, you actually not you talk about it. I want to use the word brag, but maybe it's a bit pejorative. But talk about it because you know that you are part of something. This is actually concrete. You can see these things, etc. So it makes the way of collecting art, I would say, less about being already engaged in art, knowing theory, and etc. You can actually just collect art, talk about it with your friends, and boom, it's done. You are part of a community. You can socialize about it, etc. You don't need to be friends with the gallerists or know the curators or have a bunch of friends that are actually artists and can understand this kind of stuff. So I would say it's more easy to go into that. If you take that into account, you see that all maybe the constraints that goes with collecting an art piece that is on a gallery or understanding something that is on a museum or some sort actually is non-existent, because for them it's all about like supporting someone that is actually producing some kind of art and that is relevant with their friends or other people or etc. So yeah, I make the difference in these two communities, I would say.
But when we you used the notion of old school generative art. And then, so could you mention some particular artists? Because when I think about, for me, that sounds like Sol Levitt sending a protocol to a museum, make 36 circles and they should touch each other and so and so. And then, as you say, that there hasn't really been any revolutions in regard to generative art, except that from Sol Levitt was on a paper. Now it is now it's an algorithm that maybe then connects with data collected from the internet, and it produces some kind of mycelium-like structures that change all the time, and it's on a screen in a museum. But still there, generative art is about something becoming visible, more or less cryptically, but it's becoming visible. Would you say that are there also forms of generative art that doesn't at all centralize in this way, that it's becoming an image that you can see either on a web page or in the museum? That doesn't come together as there it is, but are generative in different ways towards something that maybe is also, maybe that it continues its life as decentralized also as a form of work, or how do you see that what is happening with generative art currently?
Sol Levitt is a great example, because actually the museum now in the NFT and blockchain space is the web browser. And so you have Vera Molnar also, that is like really is a pioneer now of generative art, and also like a lot of people are actually basing their work on hers in the blockchain. But yet, to respond clearly, there is like this artist that is well known in the space that's called PAK, P-A-K, that is actually doing pieces that evolves through time and has like a lot of rules, like a game that will actually like enable his work to work in a social way and in a community way. Like, so for example, like I'm sorry if I'm going to do mistakes also, it's just a matter of you guys to understand actually what was the project was about. But he will do like a series of images that is like a cube with some balls inside and is rotating actually. And like if you collected the number, it's an example, 1, 10, 200, and 1000, you have a special thing to do that is actually like connected to the art piece. And the others that are collecting the numbers between and beyond will make the ball that is inside go bigger and bigger. Also, it's an example, like it's not related to any kind of piece, but it's some concepts that you can actually put into your work in the blockchain that will actually work. So it means blockchain pieces tend to actually have a life before being collected, have a state before being collected, when they are collected, and after the collection. And also their state is not like small, medium, and big. It can also be existing and non-existing. It can also be having a big value, having none. It can actually like have a lot of rules like connected to that. So I would say what is great with blockchain is actually that you can enforce those rules and be sure that they will happen at some point on their life. Because at the time where pieces were actually constructed like that, they were activated by the gallerist, the curator, or maybe like when the artist was dead, a member of their family that was actually knowing that the rules existed around the project. So now it's actually pieces that are autonomous and that have their life, I would say, by the time goes. Yep.
And how, at some point we discussed how text to image generating software or different kinds of AI, that this is, how do you see this today, that AI imagery is only collecting from from existing imagery, or do you also do we understand that AI also can sort of actually make imagery?
Make imagery, not for now, that's for sure. It's all come from something. Huh? It's always like take and transform for now in the AI space. Yeah, it's a crazy space because actually something happens each hour. Like in Twitter, if you are like connected to researcher and so on, it's actually like really crazy. Like, they are developing technologies like each week and like enforcing orders and like iterating so rapidly that it's really like hard to actually follow everything. But for now, in terms of generative art with AI, or maybe just AI in the current contemporary art scene, I would say that maybe we have produced what was expecting from the artist to be produced with. Like, I don't know how to say that, but there is no, for now, a project that I've come through that actually like did get beyond the prompts. And also now we know that the prompts actually work for a certain version of an AI, but will not work for another. For example, like Midjourney, like version 4 and 5 don't behave the same way with the same prompt. So it was actually funny to see like a lot of using those technology. I was thinking that it was actually funny to see like artists that were using these tools, not being lost, but were quite intrigued by the way the next version of AI was actually non-responding to their vision of what the prompts were actually doing in the past in the next version. So yeah, and to say that, so it's really complicated because like now we are generating a lot of soft images that you can actually project any meaning to it, and it actually goes well. I would say like the image does its jobs without actually having context of history linked to it and etc. So I think that's really problematic in some ways because like images need to actually like embed some history or where they are taken and etc. So generating like artists like that, like in so many numbers and not having any meaning linked to it, quite, I would say, a bit disappointing. And today artists are working a lot with like unsupervised AI and telling that actually like they're not managing the way the image are getting out of the AI. So there is like a lot of abstract images that get out of these AIs. But the thing is like, when you build a data set to actually feed an AI with it, and to actually produce an image, you are already like curating something. So in some kind of way, you are already inflating the knowledge and contextualizing the images that you are actually feeding the AI with. So for example, if you want to generate a cat, the best way is actually to feed the AI with 1,000 cats and say to the AI that they are cats. So if you want to generate some kind of abstract images, sometimes you want a certain output as an artist, and like you want maybe like something that looks like triangles or lines that are blurred between each other and etc. So you will select pictures that are actually matching that kind of vision. So it's already like supervised every time. So I would say like 99% of projects that are coming out of AI are supervised. There is some kind of context to it. So the context need to be shown and understood also by the people that are looking to these images. And for now, it's not the case. So still on progress, I would say. So this technology is used.
But how do you see relationships to copyright in imagery? So if you can generate imagery with an AI, then it also means that it it the owner of the image is the one writing the prompt, not somebody that has taken a picture or that has painted a picture or traveled to the North Pole and taken a picture or whatever. So is this an interesting or dangerous or maybe really, really exciting development in regard to copyrights and ownership?
No, it's horrible, actually. It's really horrible. The way we are actually like feeding those AI with all of this data that's actually like are owned by people, and people need to be aware that it's happening actually, and just have the option to say yes or no. I want it to be like added to the data set or no. And now for now, like we have all these algorithms that are scrapping the internet of images and texts and whatever. But it's gonna come to an end because like internet has some constraints also. Like they say that actually all the content of internet will be into data sets in the next 4 years or 5. And there is like already some problematics because like people are using AI already to produce content that is actually maybe really great or really bad. And this content is actually feeding AI. So they are actually like hitting their own garbage and it's creating problems around that. So no, just to come back to the story of the copyright, is actually horrible. And so I would say the best use you can make as an artist about those AI is actually like to gather your archives, like it has been done for so many artists to produce their pieces, and to actually use the AI with your archives and output something with that. But for now, for that, you sure need to understand how it works and how you can be an AI yourself. But like it's maybe obligated to do a work that is actually ethical and can be also explained to the people. So yeah. So yeah, I'm thinking a lot about Refik Anadol at the point when I'm talking about that, because I think he's the most illustrative artists for all these problematics that we are talking about right now. I would say that is really like the people of interest that can really like show you how things are in the AI space. Is like the same concept, the same moving, the same colors that are applied over and over, but the data set is still different. One time you have the photo of glacier of Switzerland, the other time is the archive of the MoMA, the other time is actually the perfume of Dior, and the output of that is always the same. So I think we can actually question that and just see if it's really like necessary or relevant, in terms of how artists are working with that.
But and still, a lot of the AI conversations in the art world currently, it seems to have to do with image production or generating images. How do you see? Are there other forms of AI related art that is using artificial intelligence to figure things out, or to research something, or to generate forms of existences that are possibly not understandable as human centric or whatnot?
Yeah, I use it every day. Being quite honest, actually, I'm a software engineer. Like each day, I will ask questions to an AI just to have an answer more quickly than I will have if I've typed it in Google and watched 5 pages or 6 maybe. So it's actually like helping me produce stuff, that's for sure. But I'm not using it to actually produce the whole result. It's like a tool. Like I would use like I don't know, a software or like Premiere or a brush or pencil or something like that. But I think it needs to stay at this level of the artist production and not being like the whole and for whole artist in the studio, Using it as a tool, I think it's perfect. And And we can clearly see actually to the people using those AI and producing soft images that you can actually project everything is actually something that you can hide in the way you are explaining your project on or whatever, or is that, or it has been made. It's something that really that everyone can see, and yeah, it's like that.
No, indeed, it appears to me that the sort of journalism and how media is looking at AI is strongly related to the sort of, as long as you can see something, as you can look at an image, there it becomes effective as well. Whereas AI used in the studio to come up with to search for information, etc., that's not particularly funky for the Guardian to write about, for sure. So obviously we know where we're going. Somebody talked to me about real-time minting. Can you explain minting and what does it mean with real-time minting?
Yeah, so real-time minting is actually like, minting is when we put a piece into the blockchain. So it's actually the way of actually like transposing the piece that is on your computer in the blockchain. And for that, you need to pay something. So the blockchain actually adds the project into the blocks of the blockchain. But maybe if you can just get back to the AI thing, that because there's something that's really missing into all that, is to actually say that art is also used as a way to wash this technology. And it enables corporations to actually talk about AI in a good way. So let's not forget that. And going back to the blockchain thing, yeah. So minting is basically like that, just transposing your actually digital asset that is in your computer in the blockchain and actually making sure that it stays there forever.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, real-time minting.
Yeah, so real-time minting will say that when you produce the thing, it's minted, so it's put on the blockchain as it's getting outputted by some sort of algorithm or AI, etc. So it means that you are not curating what is like getting out of the AI. You are sending all the garbage to the garbage, or the real well-made images to the blockchain. Let's not be so crazy.
But and finally, before we end today's episode, instead of minting an image, can we also consider that we are minting sets of information, or that an algorithm is what is minted, not the outcome of the algorithm?
Yeah, you can sure just mint texts into the blockchain. It has been made also. I'm thinking about this like conceptual work of Rhea Meyers, where she actually put something in the blockchain, and she considers the blockchains as some like I would say like roll of paper. So each sheet of the blockchain that is being added through time goes like above his work and increase the value of the work. So she says that it's actually like the most expensive work of the world if you take in consideration of all of the layers that goes like above of the blockchain above her work. So you can actually like just mint messages in the blockchain or whatever metadata you want it to be there. That's for sure. It's not only images. And you need to also be aware of something is like images are not stored in the blockchain. For most of them are like, it's just the link to the images that is actually stored in blockchain. So there is a lot of actually NFTs that were sold in the beginning during the big bubble, the big inflation of the bubble, that actually doesn't show anything anymore because the link is actually like not working. So and when I was talking at the beginning that the project that are going now use the blockchain as it is, it means that actually everything is now in the NFT. So it means that the whole piece is on the blockchain. So if you need to see it like in 20 years, if the blockchain still exists, you still can do. But there is a lot of projects that were actually sold in the beginning of the interest in the blockchain that doesn't work anymore because the link that is in the NFT doesn't link to anything anymore. So yeah, it's a big difference.
Good. Okay, run off to give workshop at school now because you had a workshop at, and then maybe we meet up next week or so and for a second episode because I have to take care of kids in the afternoon, and then we should talk about DAOs and organizational technologies, perhaps also related to blockchains, etc., etc. Okay, thank you very much for now, Samuel, and we will be back.